Sing Goddess, The Wrath of the Fonz, Smoke Pit Fairy Tales Part 2, Chapter 1, Holiday Massacres. It was Christmas Eve. Penelope was throwing a party. Virescents obviously didn't share our holidays, but they got excited about the big ones, like Christmas and New Year's. It was San Diego, so Penelope got a small palm tree and decorated it with glass balls and lights instead of an evergreen. Red and green ribbons and stars hung from the ceiling. She had ornaments hanging from the ivy on the walls. I thought the paper-cut snowflakes were funny. It was 63 degrees outside. No matter how shitty life got, I still had California to bask in. Ginny and Glaedwine had helped her get things set up for the party. I was okay with Penelope spending time with Ginny, but Glaedwine put me just a little bit on the edge. But I was glad to be around people. My thoughts only tried to murder me when I was alone, and my bruises disappeared, so that was good. I was standing on the balcony with Eclair smoking a cigarette. Elvis was singing us Christmas carols through the radio. So, you clear shit up with Ginny? Eclair rolled his eyes.
Yeah.
He took a deep swig of the black fluorescent wine Tom brought.
It was bad, man. I had to pretend to cry and everything.
Really, dude?
I mean, I love her, dude. You know?
I raised my brow.
Don't judge me.
Yeah, whatever, dude.
Yeah, so what's with the little blonde chick being here?
I don't know, dude. For some reason, Penelope wants to be friends with everybody I fucking know.
That was the same chick that...
Yep.
Ugh. Is Doc coming tonight?
Yeah, he should be, but I think he's still fighting with Kristy.
Yeah. She's kind of a bitch.
You've got no idea, dude.
No, man. They'll be at the barracks, and I can hear them yelling from across the decks. Then I had to go pick him up from LA that one time.
Yeah, what was up with that? I was on duty and couldn't go. I lit another cigarette.
Apparently, they went up there to check out some record store, and he said something about Filipinos, and she left the store and drove the fuck off. He said you were busy, and I had to fucking drive up there and drag his ass back.
That's fucked up, man. I don't know why he deals with that shit.
I don't either, man, but it was fucking cold driving up there in your Jeep.
It's got a heater.
It doesn't have a roof. How's a heater any good?
I just wear a jacket in it. We headed back inside. I didn't know most of the people in attendance. Tom, Faye, Frince, and Ginny were talking over sugar cookies. Penelope and Glaedwine were still pulling things out of the oven. Eclair and I mixed another round at the counter where the liquor was sitting. I mixed a dead Nazi. The peppermint schnapps made the drink taste like Santa's blood. I turned around, mixing my drink with a plastic spoon.
Hey, what's up, man?
Jerry greeted me. Oh, not much, dude. I haven't seen you in a while. How's it hanging?
Not too bad.
Yeah? I was half nervous to talk to him. I told myself not to be. He probably didn't know how I felt about his wife.
Yeah, you know, just keeping busy with work and all.
Yeah? How's that going? I saw Eclair standing by me out of the corner of my eye. Oh, by the way, this is Richard Eclair. I looked to Eclair. This is Jerry, Glaedwine's husband. They shook hands. So how is work going? Glaedwine said a little bit about it, but, I don't pay attention to what you're saying half the time. I lied.
Well, we're working on some pretty interesting stuff. We finally built a program that understands the Virescent digital language in Windows. We're over the hill as far as research goes.
Windows? Why not Mac or Linux?
Because we're working for the government, so we can't be too efficient. But anyway, we're starting to work with Norfolk Grumman and Lockheed Martin, building prototypes for Earth fluorescent machines.
Like what?
A lot of it has to do with systems that increase survivability in space. But the arms teams are building some really cool stuff. Like the Russians are building this thing called the Putin bot. They're saying it's for construction uses, but it's a 60-foot-tall robotic suit.
Huh.
Imagine a Russian-built robot from a Japanese cartoon. We think it's pretty much a giant walking tank.
Should you be telling us about that, man? That seems like it should be classified.
Notice how I wasn't talking about American or British projects?
So there's a US-UK one? Jerry made a quote symbol with his fingers.
No.
Huh. Alright then. I always thought Vladimir Putin was a James Bond villain.
He pretty much is.
Jerry took a sip of his drink. So, we had this stupid Christmas party at the shop the other day. I said to Eclair.
Yeah? How'd that go?
Well, I wrote a poem for it, and no one understood it.
You wrote a poem.
Yeah, you want to hear it?
Sure.
I pulled out my wallet and unfolded the paper I had written it on. Jerry, you're a Marine for a bit, right?
Yeah.
Now you'll like this. I held up the paper to read. It was the night before Christmas as I laid in my tent. No power for the lights, no heat for the vents. Garza hung stockings his wife sent with care. Besides that and a calendar, all the walls were bare. The Marines were all shivering, cold in their cot. Dreams of warmth and places were not. My sleeping bag green, my beanie tan. Most people don't know it's cold in Afghanistan. Then somewhere outside there arose quite a racket. We repelled from our cot to see what had happened. We opened the flaps and looked out of our tents. When who do we see? It was the first sergeant. He looked straight at us, then said with a shout, he devil-dogged us and called us all out. His nose was runny under his shaved head. He was huffing and puffing, and then he said, "This is a mess. How did it get so bad? The trash is on the ground. It's making me mad. Everything's out of order. Nothing is clean. Is there no limit to the garbage I've seen?" Then us Marines in the star's light glow began to see where this was going to go. First Sergeant said as he scanned all around, "I don't like what I see lying on the ground." Then he pointed at us, the four of us all. He said with a grimace, "You're gonna police call." We picked up the butts to the cigarettes left, and we emptied the trash and swore under our breath. We swept on the decks, no dust did we leave. What a crummy way to spend Christmas Eve. Then we took off our neck gaiters and beanies, because warming layers aren't for Marinies. We finished the cleanup cold in the sand. Then First Sergeant, who didn't lend a hand, cracked a smile and walked out of sight. He said, "You have post tomorrow. Merry Christmas. Good night." Eclair laughed.
That's fucked up.
You wrote that?
Jerry asked. "Yeah."
That's good, man.
The three of us walked out to the balcony. Eclair and I lit cigarettes, and Jerry pulled out a pipe. "Where'd you get that pipe, Gandalf?" Jerry brandished it as if it were of no consequence.
Oh, I've had it.
Eclair peered at the pipe.
That thing's cool, man. I like how it's carved to look like a wizard or a sultan.
Yeah, see how it's light tan? When I got it, it was white. The stone it's made of absorbs the smoke, and after a few years of smoking it, the whole thing will turn brown.
That's pretty sweet, dude.
The glass door on the balcony slid open, and Penelope grabbed my arm.
Hank, come in.
I stepped in, closing the door behind me. "What's up, babe?" Two tall Virescents stood before me. They looked as if they were in their 40s, so I had no idea how old they actually were.
Hank, these are my parents, Chardance and Binnette.
Chardance was tall with dark emerald skin. He had a short cropped orange beard and sliced back orange glowing hair. His pupils were a demon's scarlet. He was a handsome gargoyle on a Visigoth cathedral with a white three-piece suit covering a muscular body. Binnette was almost angelic. Her golden hair was curled and folded over the top of her head. She had an attractively healthy body weight. I had to fight to keep from staring at the proof that Penelope's bust size ran in her mother's family. I extended my hand. "Hey, good evening. Nice to meet you." Chardance gave me a firm handshake.
It is a good evening.
Penelope's told us a lot about you.
Binnette said, shaking my hand. "Well, hopefully nothing good." Binnette laughed at my joke. Chardance didn't seem amused. Penelope's folks gave me the "Who's This Dating My Daughter" interview, and I minded my manners. They didn't dig too deep. I wondered how old someone had to be to not have a potential suitor shaken down by the parents. I speculated that since Penelope was 88, parents probably stopped caring when their kids were about 500. Either way, the conversation was pretty dull. Chardance left to get wine long before Binnette was done. I caught my break when I saw Doc and Kristy through the window walking up. I met Penelope at the door to let them in. Penelope greeted them.
Hey, Merry Christmas!
Hey, you too.
Kristy said, hugging her.
I love your sweater.
Thanks. I don't quite remember where I got it.
It's nice, I brought casserole.
Wonderful.
The girls walked to the kitchen. Doc and I grabbed a drink. Well, they got friendly. I poured him a rum and coke.
Yeah, apparently when your girlfriend drove Kristy home that night from the bar, they had some conversation and now they're best fucking friends.
Yeah, Penelope's like that. She wants to be friends with everyone and their mother, so she's snagging all my friends. Doc took a glimpse around the living room.
She sure went all out.
Yeah, this is their first Christmas that they actually know what's going on. We'll see if it keeps up. She's excitable.
She's got a mean fucking backhand, too.
We all drank into the evening. Instead of making the rounds, wishing everyone I didn't know a Merry Christmas, I stuck to the people I at least knew a little. The 7 or 8 of us that knew the Christmas carols sang along when the familiar ones played, and we all picked at the ham and sweets. Chardance, Jerry, Eclair, and Ginny, Faye, and Frince, and Doc and I smoked cigars Chardance brought on the balcony. The night was cool, but didn't require more than a sweater. The San Diego lights illuminated the air, and a beauty that couldn't be beat by any other unnatural elates.
I do rather enjoy cigars,
Chardance said. Ginny replied,
Yeah, I'm surprised as many Variessants picked up smoking as they did. You guys didn't have tobacco before Earth, did you?
Chardance shook his head.
No, and I'm not fond of cigarettes or pipe, but a good cigar seems to do the trick.
That's because you haven't had the right kind of pipe tobacco,
Jerry commented.
Perhaps.
Chardance blew a smoke ring. Yeah, and if you think American cigarettes are bad, let me tell you about these Iraqi smokes called Pines, I added. Eclair groaned.
Holy God, those things were terrible. I ran out of Marlboros and Elltiot and had to smoke those fucking things the rest of the deployment.
Doc smirked.
It's not your fault, dude. Nobody brings enough cigarettes in their first deployment.
What was so bad about him?
Faye asked. I answered her. Well, I'm not sure how things are on other planets, but on Earth, everybody makes things, but there's always someone who makes things the best, and someone who makes a total piece of shit product. Good wine comes from France, good rice comes from Southeast Asia, and good tobacco comes from North America. I rolled the Cohiba in my hand. And before the embargo was lifted, Cuban cigars were what all Americans wanted to get their hands on. They're usually good, but most of the excitement was over the fact that they were illegal.
Why was that?
Frince asked. Political bullshit.
Hey, Hank. You remember that Afghan footbread?
Dear Lord, that was good.
Yeah. You guys seem to have fought a lot of wars recently.
Frince held a smug look on his face. Doc, Eclair, and I shrugged, prompting Faye to ask.
What were they all about anyway? You guys seem to get pretty heated over the subject.
Well, they tell you it's about freedom, but no one actually goes for that.
How so?
It's about the brothers you're with.
Okay.
Eclair, Doc, and I stared at Frince.
What's wrong with that? Nothing. I just haven't heard that one before. Usually it seems people have fought under the banner of freedom, and not just on your world. But is freedom really worth laying in a hole with your own guts in your hand?
The only reason I didn't throw Frince off the balcony after that sentence was because Penelope was having a good night and I didn't want to ruin her party. Although, I wasn't sure Eclair or Doc weren't about to do it themselves anyway. Jerry said out of the blue.
Frince, man. Have you ever served? No.
I could tell he wanted to say something snide, like being in the military is for the slime of society and the poor, but sensed that being thrown off the 15th story balcony wasn't outside the realm of possibility.
But I can't think of anything so terrible that could happen that I'd feel the need to take up arms. So you'd rather be a slave than fight? I'd rather be a slave than die. I'd certainly rather be a slave than mauled for a word. So freedom is just a word, is it? It could represent an idea, sure, but even then, that idea you call freedom, who decides who gets it afterwards? Who exactly decides how much of this freedom that people get, if any at all? Definitely not a foot soldier.
I glared at Frince and tightened my lips. He continued.
What could the enemy be doing that's so terrible that I should be okay with going and fighting him? Whatever he's doing, he's not doing it to me or even anyone I know. And war is never for what the people sending you over there say it is. It's for the respective government's profit. It doesn't matter whose war it is or what it's supposedly over.
So that's why you had to leave your planet? Because you're a race of fucking bitches that would rather turn tail and pussy out instead of stand and fight like fucking men.
What did you say?
Frince asked, offended. He and Eclair stared each other down. Doc and I looked at each other, then Eclair, then Frince, and then slowly put our drinks on the railing. Without taking his eyes off Eclair, Frince taunted him.
Do you want to go, little man?
Eclair, Doc, and I flicked open our knives, almost in unison. Faye looked like she was about to cry, and Jerry switched the position of his beer bottle in his hand, turning it into a weapon. Ginny just looked annoyed.
Listen, spinach dick. I've killed more people than you fucked. You don't want to go anywhere with me. I got nowhere to go but hell. And right now, the only thing between here and there is a slit throat and a 15-story fall.
Frince stood silent. He was nervous, but didn't look like he was backing down.
Alright, everybody calm down. We're not old nannies like France here.
Chardance said, frustrated.
Frince!
Shut up, you vagina. It doesn't matter what or whose war it is. It's the warrior who wants to fight for the glory of battle and wants only more so to do it with his brothers. When you're old and decrepit and picking out the flowers to go in your stomach, have fun explaining to your children and their children's children how you were a coward that never did anything with his life.
I'll fight you all!
Oh, please. From what I can tell, you just pissed off 4 men with daggers who all fought in war, probably together, who are about to stab and beat you until you're wailing for death, and then they'll only give it to you by hurling you towards the ground below. Then, since you've shamed our people enough, I'll have half the mind to tell the authorities that you threw the first punch.
Chardance turned to Faye.
Get your girlfriend away from here before she gets hurt, and don't let her see you again.
Faye grabbed Frince's arm and dragged him out of the apartment.
I do apologize for that.
I put away my knife. Why? He was being a tool.
Because you humans tend to bundle people of the same color into groups, and I don't want to be associated with an ignorant ass like that. I don't even know a good word to use to describe people like that.
Pussy would work.
Or faggot.
I was under the impression faggot meant homosexual.
Chardance went back to his cigar. Eclair shrugged.
Eh.
It is, but I've personally never heard anyone use it to call someone gay, but people still do get their panties in a twist about it. Ginny added.
Yeah, that whole community gets really mad about that. You can't even really say it without an uproar, even if you're not describing gay people.
Huh.
Chardance puffed.
Oh, hey. Also, I was never deployed.
Jerry commented.
It's okay, dude. You showed up.
Doc patted Jerry's shoulder. I looked in through the window. Kristy and Penelope mean-mugged us from the other end of the apartment.
I was a soldier once. Frince was only half wrong, but he was a complete buffoon.
Ginny asked him.
What was the deal with the flowers in his stomach?
It's a burial tradition. Before one dies, they choose a plant, and its seeds are put in their body after they pass. We wrap our dead in a soft coffin and bury them shallow. The seeds use the body for nutrients and the plant grows. Instead of a field of headstones, we'll have a garden or an orchard to remember the deceased. In our olden times, people were buried along the sides of the city walls, and vine flora would be planted with the body. Apparently, it was very beautiful.
Interesting.
Ginny took a sip of her drink. Penelope slid open the balcony door.
What the hell was that?
Frince was being rather obtuse, so I politely asked him to leave.
Politely? They didn't seem like they were sent out with manners.
He was offending the company around him and was given the opportunity to leave without being drugged.
Yeah, he was being a real bitch.
Hank, come inside for a moment.
I followed her to her room.
Do you have to ruin every party you attend?
Whoa, hey, don't pin that on me. Frince started it, and your dad gave him the boot.
Well, would he have started it if your friends weren't badgering him?
Hey, you fucking invited them, not me. I know you want to be friends with everybody, but personally, I think most of your friends are shitheads.
My friends are shitheads.
Yeah, especially Frince and Faye. I mean, your dad's cool, but people your age need to be knocked down a fucking peg.
Well, at least they don't go around starting fights with everyone.
Frince started it. Penelope moved her face an inch from mine and scowled at me from under her eyebrows. What?
I've been friends with those two longer than you've been alive.
I really don't give a shit. Penelope stuck her index finger into my shoulder and tried to push me back. I looked at the red-nailed green bean prodding my shoulder, then back into Penelope's eyes. There was a storm brewing in those seas. You trying to fight me too? Penelope's brow dropped lower and she poked me again harder. How much have you had to drink tonight? I tried to smell the alcohol on her, but I was a hair or two tipsy to do so. She drove her nail into me until it started to hurt. I grabbed her hand just hard enough so she couldn't pull it away. When she failed at yanking it back, she shoved her opposite shoulder into my chest. I caught her arm and lunged, tackling her to the bed. Penelope, listen, that wasn't my fault. Frince was being a dick, pissing everyone out there off, and you're not helping the situation. And if you're worried so much about your party getting ruined, then you should probably stop acting like a bitch.
What?
She scowled at me, trying to jerk herself free. I hadn't been in a fist fight with a woman before and didn't want to start that kind of lifestyle off with a woman wearing my ring. I wasn't sure what I could do or say to calm her down, so I pressed my lips onto hers. She forced her bottom lip onto mine as if she were trying to bite me through them. I put my body weight down on top of her, pinning her harder to the bed. Penelope reached out with her teeth and bit my bottom lip just hard enough not to break the skin. I shot my hand up and yanked a fistful of her hair. Her legs wrapped around me and squeezed my waist.
Hey guys, it's me. Real quick, we gotta pause the episode here real quick because, well, Hank and Penelope get into a fight, and that turns into very very vigorous fluid exchange, and it's very graphic. And because of the nature of it, it violates all of the terms and conditions of this site, so I can actually put this up on the internet in its full form if I want you to hear it. So, if you do want to hear it, you either have to get the audiobook once it's out, which, I don't know, it depends on when you're watching this. It might be out, but if you're watching this the day this video comes out, you're gonna have to wait a bit. Or it's already up over on Patreon, so, you know, they're a little less stringent there. Anyway, they get at it, it gets rough, and then Hank distributes some literature on Penelope's face, effectively gluing her eyes shut. Alright, back to it.
Effectively gluing her eyes shut.
Ah! Ah! God damn it, Hank!
Don't start fights with me over shit that ain't my fault. I pulled up my pants and tucked my shirt back in. Penelope felt around looking for something to wipe her face with. I tucked my heart on in my belt and awkwardly made my way to the balcony, trying not to let people see the bulge in my pants. Finally alone for a moment, I fell into one of the metal chairs around the table that wasn't big enough for anything more than a few glasses and lit a cigarette. I was still breathing hard and I'm sure I looked like I just got out of a fight. Halfway through my cigarette, the Glaedwine slid through the door. Lovis set fire to the end of her red and Jerry lit his pipe.
Good evening,
they said, placing glasses of yellowish brown liquid on the table. Yeah, Merry Christmas.
That too.
Lovis sat in the chair opposite of mine.
So I just had an interesting conversation.
Cool, me too. You go first. I exhaled a thick plume of smoke.
I was talking to that guy Thom, and apparently he doesn't like Penelope being with you.
Okay, well, Tom's Penelope's brother. That's kind of to be expected.
His train of thought is that you're going to die several centuries before she does, and he doesn't want to see her get hurt.
I can see that, but I think a good counter-argument would be that I'm an enlisted Marine and we're probably going to get divorced anyway, so... His logic's a bit off. The Glaedwine smiled.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he didn't consider that.
Penelope limped out to the balcony. She was wearing a different sweater, her makeup was gone except for a quick dab of eyeliner. She looked like she may have ran a comb through her hair. She carried a red velvet Christmas stocking in her hand. What's in the sock? I asked as Penelope sat down. She leaned to the side of her chair as to not be sitting flat on her butt.
Christmas presents?
Yeah, how are you so people cool at Christmas but freak out over birthdays?
One can't help what they see on TV.
Penelope extended 2 fingers towards me, slightly separated. I looked at her questionably.
Cigarette, please.
You don't smoke.
I do when the right things happen.
I passed her a Lucky. She took one excruciatingly deep drag. The smoke from her one exhalation filled the balcony. She handed me back the cigarette. Lovis Glaedwine leaned over the table and looked at Penelope's hand.
I don't think I've seen your ring.
Penelope gave Lovis her hand, and she looked closely at the rose-jeweled band.
That's very nice.
Lovis smiled, but it looked forced. She glanced at me for a second, then looked back at Penelope.
You're a lucky woman.
She let go of Penelope's hand. The whole situation made me feel uncomfortable.
I think I'm doing all right.
By the time I lit my third cigarette, most of Penelope's guests had left, including her parents and the Glaedwines. Doc, Eclair, Ginny, and Kristy were out with us smoking before they went home for the night. People stuck their head out and thanked Penelope for her hospitality. She told them they were welcome and Merry Christmas Eve. Ginny said,
So we got together and got you 3 something for Christmas. Something similar because the 3 of you seem like you're the 3 best of friends on the planet.
Penelope pulled 3 small boxes out of the stocking, each with red wrapping and Hank, Richard, and Wilson written with a golden pin on top.
We got together and decided these are the best things the 3 of you could share.
We each took the box with their name on it. Opening them, we found brand new lighters with words engraved on the front. Eclair's and mine read, I fucking love the Marine Corps and the Marine Corps fucking loves me. Doc's was the same, only with Navy instead of Marine Corps. Eclair inspected his lighter. Doc wrapped his arm around Kristy.
This is pretty badass.
I grabbed Penelope's hand and smiled at her. Then we were alone. Penelope had brought back a blanket from when she locked the door after everyone was gone, and we cuddled under it on the metal chair on the balcony, smoking cigarettes and looking at the city. Somewhere along the night, Penelope had put on a Santa hat. I flicked the ball at the end between cigarettes.
Hank?
Penelope.
I want to have more sex like that. Like wild animals battling for the last scrap of the zebra.
There's something wrong with you, woman. Penelope lit one of my Luckies with my new lighter.
But you love me.
I do. I did. I did not, however, have the words to describe it. When I held her in my arms, it felt like the galaxy was pouring warm milk directly into my soul from all reaches of the cosmos. When I wasn't near her, I felt like a child on a ship whose favorite stuffed animal had fallen into the sea. And although I didn't show it when she was angry towards me, my heart felt like the screaming victims of Mount Vesuvius being burnt alive in the unholy fires raining on Pompeii. And when it was cold outside and she was curled up on my chest, I almost felt at one with the universe. I didn't care about the world. I didn't care about myself. I didn't care about the war. But how do you tell someone you feel like that without sounding like a complete faggot? Hey, how's your booty?
It'll be okay.
She took a drag off her cigarette.
You know, sometimes I feel like I'm robbing the cradle sleeping with someone as young as you are, but you're finding ways to surprise me.
Well, sometimes I feel like I'm robbing the grave, sliding it into someone as old as you are. Penelope smiled up at me from under her Santa hat. I reached down and dragged my lips across hers. She flicked her cigarette in the street below. She rustled around under the blanket as we kissed. Penelope slid her long, beautiful legs through the holes under the armrest on the chair. Straddled over me, she found the end of my arm, put her panties in my hand, and whispered into my ear.
Hey everybody, thanks for listening to Chapter 1 of Sing Goddess, The Wrath of the Fonz, Smoke with Fairy Tales Part 2. Yeah, I know, Chapter 1 is the second chapter, because there was a Chapter 0, but hey, do you know what? We're here with it. I would like to thank my cast for this one. We got Chuck LaVoki playing Doc, and then we got Dan Brady playing Eclair, and Dan Brady is a comedian friend of mine. He's in the Cincinnati area, so if you're around that area of the country, go see him perform. It's great, I promise. And speaking of comedians, Diane Spencer is playing Penelope. And as far as I'm concerned, she's the greatest fucking comedian in the UK. And then for Chardance, we got my buddy Travis Weidemann playing him. Azalandra Danstar playing Ginny. Amanda Graham playing Faye and Binnette. Yeah. Michele Packard, one of my author buddies, playing Glaedwine, back again from the last book. Same thing with Teagan Elltiot, who returned for Kristy? Teagan and Michele are both great authors. Go check out their stuff. I'll have their stuff down there. I don't think I forgot anybody, did I? If I did, I'm sorry. Anyway, if you don't want to wait for me to read all these to you, you can just go get this book off Amazon. Or if you're feeling really frisky, you can get the first 6 books of these series in what I like to call the war chest. That's a custom painted 50 cal ammo can containing the first 6 books of the Smoke with Fairy Tale series. But anyway, yeah, thank you for listening, and thank you to all my Patreon people and to everyone who's already gotten a war chest. All right, I will catch you next week. In the meantime, let me know what you thought in the comments, and here's some bloopers. All right, bye.
Scully, sit down. When I held her in my arms, go away, Fly.
So, I recorded the entirety of Chapter 2 with my channel misselected, so I didn't get it done. And this was, I don't know. I just don't know if I'm going to be able to do a better job than that organic first take, especially with doing 3 different characters. But we'll see. Too bad you're going to miss out on all those outtakes. I'm sure I'll never mess up again.
Yeah, the whole community gets mad about that. You can't really... Shit.
Imagine a Russian-built robot from a Japanese cartoon. We think it's pretty much a giant Russian. Blah, 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 blah.
3, 2.
Okay, I'm going to do that again. I am not totally sure how to pronounce those names.
That thing's cool, man. I like how it's... Fuck.
And got you 3 something for Christmas. Shit. Okay. 3, 2, 1.
Holy God, those things were terrible. I ran out of Marlboros and Elltiot and had to smack the... Fuck.
Yeah, I'm not sure how else that could be said. Hank, these are my parents. Chardance. And Binnette. Probably not that. I'm going to do that again. There was a dog barking in the background.
I was going to go back and make sure I was actually recording all that. Jesus Christ in hell. I am now going to be recording the Frince section of this for the 3rd time, because I am actually a complete idiot. Jesus.
Yeah, that was a good one.
But I can't think of anything so terrible that could happen that I should start this over again. I swear I had it earlier.
So cheeky.
Okay, I think I got it all that time. Jesus. Went back to listen to some, and I turned off the mic, and I started recording again. Like, yeah, I like what's going on here. And just fucking... I bounced the whole thing. Didn't realize it was just blank. It was blank! Alright. We're good.
Next bit.
Imagine a Russian-built robot from a Japanese cartoon. Goddamn, Trip. I wondered how old someone had to be to not have their potential suitor speak, Trip. No, this not was me. Well, I'm not sure.